Hey everybody, and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program RP-0. We have a whole lot to get to today, and it's just a lot to condense into one episode. So I'm generally very sorry that we're going to squeeze it all into one episode, but it's all kind of mundane. So you may remember these from like last year when we were just exploring the feasibility of a Mars surface outpost. These are our uh, food missiles, I guess. They are a means to resupply the Mars surface base in a tenable manner. And since targeted landings on Mars are a little tricky, we decided to go for accuracy by volume rather than the targeted landings that we can pull off at the moon. So we have a bunch of these food missiles. God, I really needed a better terminology for these things. I actually had these slated to go up on the Liftoff, our Hasselhoff rocket, but because of the extreme nature of how many things we've been building lately, I'm actually scrapping an old supply pod that we had built, thinking that we would still be using rockets that use Aerozine 50 and nitrogen tetroxide for resupply instead of kerosene and liquid oxygen, and just repurposing the DN6B underneath it to carry this payload instead. And roughly speaking, it gives them like 17 months of extra endurance on the surface. The surface base itself comes with about a year of life support for the 4 Kerbal crew that will be occupying the station. So hopefully this will more than double their longevity. I am fully anticipating that we will not get a 100% collection rate on these drop pods to the station. The goal, of course, is to land them as close to the surface installation as we can, and then there's a specially designed autonomous rover that can drive out, pick them up, carry them back to the station where they can empty their contents into the common pool, and then it can drive out and collect the next one. It also gives us the opportunity to leave supplies in orbit until they are needed, and maybe with increasing repetition, I can get better and better at guiding landings into a specific zone, or at least within a few dozen kilometers of where I would like them to be. That's the goal anyway. We'll see exactly how well this shapes out. So anyway, we have basically a basic capture stage powered by our experimental lander engine, which I have used for everything except landings at this point. Well, that's not true. They are on our Victor resupply pods for the lunar surface, which was kind of the test bed, but we've used them a lot more for upper stages and capture stages than we have actually landing things, which was the design intent of the engine. And with all these pods, our frame rate is certainly suffering, but we should probably strut things to keep them from wobbling around and shaking itself apart. Solar panels, thrusters. Did I pressurize those tanks? Yeah. You guys probably know better than I do because I've been obviously looking away a whole lot while recording this narration. Anyway, and then a new fairing, we will rename this so that we can duplicate it very easily. And I have checked, the boosters are now RD172s, and that thing is ready to go. And also, in the realm of things that I have forgotten to do that needed to be done, this is the Chestnut 6 Kerbal to any local destination, Mars or Venus, take your pick. This is obviously the one that's going out to Mars because construction on it is almost complete, but I forgot to include drills. They're absolutely going to need some tools in order to perform all of the tasks required of the crew at Harmonia Station upon arrival to get the station back up and running. So we'll just include a couple of other miscellaneous things that I think that we might need just in case, and get that back on the build list. And then we will jump out here to Rosalina Memorial Station, where we have a whole lot going on in that we need to radio some science in. They are kind of clearing through the last bits of data collected that this station actually has access to. So we might be looking at the end of service life for this surface installation, and we might be thinking of plotting out a new one in a different biome that has access to more science we have not yet received. But after this radio in, we do have a Kerbal alarm clock node for our Venus Orbital Lab. There she is. As she approaches Venus, we need to make a correction because I swear that is not where I left this station, and this was not the course that I last left this thing with, but yet here we are. Trying to bring its periapsis down to something that's a whole lot more manageable, and will make it much easier to capture into orbit. It is going to be highly eccentric, which I think actually benefits our station a whole lot. The Delta V requirements to return from Venus are not super demanding, and really good old Chestnut here shouldn't have much of an issue being able to return from Venus to Earth. At any inclination, really. But the more biomes we can cover with this station, the more science we will generally be able to reap from it, and that will obviously extend its service life for many years. Obviously, Harmonia Station still has a huge backlog of science, but a lot of that is delving into the things gleaned from Phobos. We have yet to send a crew to Deimos, but we will be attempting that with the next crew rotation out there. So we did light our HG3 to bring that periapsis a lot closer to the surface, and then things started getting a little wonky. Thrusters started firing without any instruction to do so, so there was a bit of me fighting with this dumb thing. I really should have just turned SAS off, but there is a not insignificant delay as far as getting things done along those lines. So it was a little bit of a struggle trying to get this thing in, and honestly, I wish I had orbital tracking for the resupply pod that is still en route to Venus, just so that we could go about matching its inclination. But that is a goal for a different day, and I guess a problem that we will approach at a different time. Anyway, there is still a little bit of Delta V left in our B-L upper stage here, but it's not exactly worth preserving. So we are, in fact, going to separate off that stage after we set up an alarm here, because we'll need to adjust our course so as to not go plummeting through the atmosphere of Venus. But that B-L will be very nicely disposed of, and we won't have to worry about it anymore. Anyway, switching back now to Rosalina Memorial Station here on the surface of the moon. I guess I should discuss the technical problems here. Our build list is completely chock full, and I don't have a readily available Victor resupply pod that we can launch to keep them on station. And honestly, I'm debating its merits, so I figured we could just run out the clock here on the crew, let them get as much research done as they possibly could, given the life support supplies that they have remaining. So we'll just do a bunch of time warping here as we watch Earth dance around in the background between the day-night cycle. There she is again, curving around. We'll get to somewhat close approximation of what we have left. We'll leave a couple of weeks worth of supplies here on station for the next crew, just in case we go ahead and decide to cycle either another crew out or this crew back. My instinct tells me really it's about time for this crew to come home. They've been here about a year now, so it's probably time for us to cycle them out and bring a fresh crew who will need the experience down here to the surface, and let them finish up what last remaining bits of research need to be done. Also, that being said, since there is no real other science or biomes close by enough, we might as well collect some of these sciencey, experimenty bits, and maybe we can deploy them via Lunar Uber and a few other parts at some other biome, collect some new data, and maybe either cycle it to this station or cycle it to a new station in some other biome on the surface. That decision hasn't exactly been reached, but I figured while we're here and we have all these sciencey bits, we might as well prepare for the cheap future, which is to collect all of these science experiments, load them up into the crates here at the bottom of the Lunar Uber 2, maybe a command chair. I should have gotten a strut or two, but honestly, the only ones left on that disposal unit are the really big ones, which don't do us a whole lot of good. So we'll try to distribute the weight as best we can, and then step 2 is to go ahead and dispose of this resupply pod for nothing other than the frame rate savings that it provides not having it here. Its life support supplies have already been emptied. It does have an abundance of fuel on board, however, but that is because every fuel tank in this entire outpost is completely topped off. Like, literally every single one. There's no place to move this excess fuel to. We actually have enough on hand to refuel an entire Lunar Uber from empty, even though they don't quite land empty. So we'll go ahead and just kick on this ELE and then just let it fly the hell away. I don't know how readily you can see it way the hell out there, but there it was, this little shining flare in the sky. We'll let it burn through its fuel and then dispose of itself in the cleanest manner possible. So in the meantime, we're going to go ahead and move the crew over to the Lunar Uber 2, where they have a little bit more life support supplies available to them, and go ahead and put a pause on the research that is currently on station. So as I was talking about before, the plans for more data or anything like that, within the realm of realistically thinking, we could deploy the Lunar Uber to a completely new biome, set up a science research thing where we basically just deploy the experiments on a small subassembly that we deploy through KIS or KAS on the surface, use it to gather some new data from a new biome, and then launch back to Rosalina Station in low moon orbit, refuel the Lunar Uber, and then deploy it back down here to Rosalina Memorial Station to complete the research. One thing I did have a problem with is we have some photographs that were taken on our rover expedition a while ago that are stored there in the cupola that we cannot retrieve. Our poor Kerbal there on the outside was unable to get the retrieve data or remove science button to collect the photographs and take them with us. I would like to bring those back to Earth, as we can't process them through the lab, and there's like 30 some odd science available there. Anyway, so we are plotting our course back to Tremonia, and new problem. Yeah, that leg that we replaced, that rover was a little too close, and moving it, as it turned out, would have destroyed the leg if we moved it at all. But not moving it, I was really hoping that if maybe we kicked the landing gear up, it would just flip the disposal unit over and spare us the landing leg. It did not. Obviously, that landing leg has been destroyed again. I think that's the same one that we blew up when we fueled the Uber, and it was attached to a fuel pipe, and that caused the weight to shift and destroy a single landing leg. Not a whole lot of fun. So we are very, very off inclination from Rosalina Station, but life support supplies being what they are, we need to just go ahead and go. We certainly have the excess delta V to where we can make the inclination change. The goal just being to line up our periapsis with that either ascending or descending node. I can't really tell which one it is anymore here in post. Looks to be ascending node, obviously. Any fool can tell that's exactly what it is. So we're just going to try to adjust our pitch and heading to get those two lined up, and then we will shut down our engines and plot our node for our inclination correction and our orbital insertion here around the moon so that we can eventually make a rendezvous with Rosalina Station. We actually want to maintain a lower orbit so that we can catch up to the station. That would be the fastest approach, and seeing as how we only have a couple of days of life support on board for all 4 crew, being fast about it is obviously the best option. So we'll take a second here to balance our fuel loadout, drain those small tanks into the larger center tanks, because having all the fuel centered around our center of mass is going to greatly aid with docking. So just a few minutes out from our inclination change / orbital insertion burn, which is 500 some odd meters per second, but with all 5 Astros 2 engines firing, we can walk through that in less than a minute or so, which makes very, very quick work of this maneuver. And I am now relying entirely on Mech Jeb's rendezvous planner as far as relative inclination, and then we'll use it again for separation at closest approach. Relative inclination did go down a little further, then started to climb back up, but I'm not going to worry about a tenth of a degree or so. I am, however, going to take the time to balance fuel from the nose cone tank and the butt tank into our side 4 fuel tanks so that we can hopefully have a nice balanced loadout when it comes time for docking. 4 days of life support left. We'll just time warp through 2 days of it, and then set a node to try to dial in our separation at closest approach. That shows about 1.3, 1.4 kilometers of separation, but of course I think we can dial it in a little bit better than that. So we're down to thruster power on this one. Not even worth lighting up our single Astros 2 engine that we have left active. And then a little bit of touch up on thrusters brings that separation at closest approach down to 88 meters. Which is way more than acceptable. I think we can absolutely make a solid docking out of that. We'll just time warp around, have Mech Jeb plot our node, and then fire our engines, of course, to zero out that relative speed, set our docking port as a target, and then start to maneuver ourselves into position. Having really powerful thrusters absolutely helps out so much of this. Still 2,900 meters per second of fuel left on the Lunar Uber 2 here, and I know there's an action group for retracting those panels and pulling in the antenna. Just, I'm old, and old habits die hard, obviously. So as we're going to pull ourselves in here for a nice and easy docking, like the easiest of all the dockings. Yeah, no, having good thruster authority absolutely helps with that. So we'll target our docking port and then start to pull ourselves closer. There should be about a year's worth of life support supplies here on Rosalina Station. So whatever we decide to do with this crew, be it another landing for science collecting to bring to the lab down on Rosalina, because you do get a bonus for processing things on a lab that is on the surface versus one that is in orbit. So we actually get paid out more science if we did the research on the surface versus doing it here in orbit, although both are an option to us. And of course, we will consider cycling the crew out, just bringing them home. Of course, we're going to need a shuriken for that, and, well, I might be a little nervous around shuriken flights, given all the pilot error kind of events that have transpired. There's a hard dock, thank goodness. So this crew is safe. They've got plenty of life support to carry them around until we can decide exactly what the hell we're going to do with them. And why those solar panels were not deployed before, I don't quite understand, but we've got a bit of refueling to do for all the things here. But I guess I won't make you sit and watch through that. That's going to do it for this one, everyone. Thank you so much for hanging out. I really do appreciate it, and I will see all of you in the next one. So until then, see you later.